Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos.
The main character dies inside of his previous life. He is reborn inside of Naruto, inside of Konoha, inside of the Uchiha clan. He leaves the village for a bit, and when he comes back, the Uchiha clan is already massacred. What is he gonna do now?
I just returned to Konoha and found that my entire clan was gone. Book synopsis: I am Uchiha Yelan. 5 years ago, following my brother's advice, for the sake of the village's peace and the clan's stability, I, then a Chunin, resolutely accepted an S-rank mission to gather post-war intelligence on Kirigakure. Who knew that on the way back I would be caught in a storm and swept to an unknown island. After countless hardships, I finally returned to the village, only to be told that the Uchiha clan was gone. The one who killed the entire clan was the clan leader's son. Only one Uchiha remained, and he was the brother of the one who wiped out the clan. Where is my brother? My brother has the Manjakaiwu Sharingen. Why didn't he come to save him? What? My brother is dead, and his body couldn't even be found. P.S. The protagonist is a human from Earth who transmigrated, but has never watched Naruto. Chapter 1: Return. Early in the morning, before the sun had risen, mist shrouded the entire land. Izumo and Tetsuo arrived at the gates of Konoha village and began another day's work. Gangzi Tai yawned, seemingly still missing his warm bed. Seeing his friend's tired look, Shen Yue Chian teased, "What did you do last night?" "No way. I just got carried away, reading a novel yesterday." "What novel is it that you're so engrossed in?" Izumo asked. Let me tell you, this is Juro Yasama's new work." Kotsu stretched out his palm and lowered his voice considerably. "Ta-da!" Just as the two were talking, footsteps came from the doorway. The two looked up and saw a black-haired boy standing in front of them. The boy was about 14 or 15 years old, 177 centimeters tall, with slightly messy hair that actually looked quite pleasing to the eye, and bangs that partially obscured his pupils. Looking at his somewhat youthful face, one would subconsciously feel that he was even younger. Izumo Kamizuki glanced at the boy's forehead and noticed he wasn't wearing a Konoha headband. He figured the boy might be from Konoha, where the Chunin exams were about to be held, or just an ordinary person who had come to join the fun. "Hello, what brings you to Konoha?" "Which village are you from?" Izumo asked according to protocol. The boy slightly raised his head, revealing his pupils hidden in his bangs. His unusually sharp gaze instantly made Kamizuki Izuki and Kotsu tense up. They suddenly realized that this boy was no ordinary person. "I'm a Konoha ninja, just back from a mission," the boy said, turning slightly to the side. The two noticed that he was wearing a Konoha headband, but it looked worn and hadn't been replaced in a long time. "Are you one of our fellow villagers? I've never seen you before." Kotsu didn't lower his guard just because he saw the headband. Logically speaking, this boy was quite young, and when they did this job, he was probably not yet a ninja. They knew almost everyone in the village, but had never seen this boy before. The boy, seeing the two somewhat wary individuals, said, "My mission went awry this time. I was stranded on a deserted island for a long time and only just returned. It was a mission personally assigned to me by the Hokage." The boy's explanation was reasonable enough, but his direct use of the term Hokage was a bit awkward. Izumo Kamui continued, "We will report to the Hokage-sama. Please wait here for a moment." Then he gestured for Kotsu to go and report, and then continued to ask, "We haven't asked your name yet, so we can report to the Hokage." "My name is Uchiha Yelan." The boy didn't think too much about it and gave his name directly. Upon hearing the boy's name, the two of them instantly changed their expressions. Gangzi Tai even stammered, You are a member of the Uchiha clan." Hearing Kotsu's words, Uchiha Yoru frowned. He'd been away from home for so long. Hadn't the village's prejudice against the Uchiha changed? Shisui, what exactly have you done? That's right. Is there a problem with me being a member of the Uchiha clan? Yilan looked at the two of them with slight impatience. His black pupils quickly spun and transformed into Sharingan with 3 Tomo. Combined with his already sharp gaze, he resembled a ferocious beast unleashed, which suddenly made the two of them tense. It's a 3 Tomo, Jade. Don't get excited. We were also surprised to run into someone from the Uchiha clan. Come on, I'll take you to see the Hokage right now. Upon seeing the 3 Tomo in Yilan's pupils, Kamizuki Izumo quickly waved his hand, signaling him to follow him. An accident. Yilan was a little surprised to hear the other party's words. Do the Uchiha rarely go on missions now? Ahem. You must have been away from the village for quite a while now. The Hokage will tell you the details. Izumo Kamizuki didn't want to explain too much. There were some things that a Chunin like him couldn't say. At the Hokage building, Hiruzen Sarutobi was preparing to begin his work for the day. The Chunin exams had made his already busy schedule even busier, and he barely had time to use his telescope technique to relax. Boom, boom, boom. A series of urgent knocks sounded at the door. Hiruzen Sarutobi frowned. Who was in such a hurry so early in the morning? He took a drag of his cigarette and said, "Come in." Upon hearing the request to enter, a Konoha ninja wearing sunglasses rushed in a panic. Hiruzen Sarutobi recognized this ninja. He was Yamashiro Yoba and was not usually a very composed ninja. Hokage-sama. Kotsu told me over the radio that a ninja returned from a mission today, but because he was out for a long time, he needs you to verify this, Yamashiro Yoba said breathlessly. Is Jiraiya back? Hiruzen Sarutobi's first thought was of his apprentice, but then he realized something was off. Kotsu should know Jiraiya. He said the name of the ninja who came back was Uchiha Yoran, Yamashiro Yoba added, catching his breath. Are you sure you didn't hear wrong? Hiruzen Sarutobi's expression changed instantly. He remembered the name Uchiha Yoru, and he also remembered that this boy was Uchiha Shisui's younger brother. 5 years ago, at Shisui's recommendation, the 10-year-old Yoru participated in an S-rank mission. The task of this S-rank mission is to gather intelligence on Kirigakure, Hidden Mist Village. Since the war, Kirigakure has been closed off from the world, and no one knows what has happened inside the village. Hiruzen Sarutobi sent a small team to carry out this mission. To ease tensions between the Uchiha clan and the village, Shisui recommended his younger brother, Uchiha Yoru, for the mission. Yoru was a genius who possessed the Sharingan with 2 Tomo at the age of 10. None of the ninjas from this mission returned. The ANBU who went to gather information reported that everyone involved in the mission encountered a once-in-a-century sea storm and presumably perished. They weren't given much thought afterward, since the Uchiha clan was wiped out. However, they never expected that after all these years, Uchiha Yoru would return. How am I supposed to explain the current situation of the Uchiha clan to Uchiha Yelan? We went out on a mission, and your entire clan was wiped out. And the only survivor is the younger brother who killed your clan. Thinking about this gave Hiruzen Sarutobi a headache. After a moment's thought, he said to Yoba Yamashiro, "Go and summon Danzo and his 2 advisors." Upon hearing the order, Yamashiro Yoba hurriedly went to find Danzo and his 2 advisors. Uchiha. Yilan. After Yamashiro Yoba left, Hiruzen Sarutobi took 2 deep drags on his cigarette, feeling incredibly troubled and annoyed by what was about to happen. Chapter 2. What a joke. Not long after, the door to the Hokage's office rang. Come in. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at the young man who entered the room. Although his appearance had changed somewhat, he was certain that he wouldn't mistake him. Yilan, thank you for your hard work. I didn't expect this mission to result in such heavy losses. Hiruzen Sarutobai's previously stiff face softened. You're too kind, Hokage. The Uchiha are also members of Konoha, and completing the mission is my duty, Yilan said, taking out a scroll from his pocket. Perhaps the information is a bit outdated, but I have done my best to complete the mission assigned by the Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobai took the scroll with some curiosity. Kirigakua's isolation for several years had prevented other ninja villages from gathering any useful information, so Yelan's ability to bring back the information was considered a successful mission. The major events that have occurred in Kirigakure in recent years are Zabuza's failed assassination attempt on the Mizukage, his subsequent downfall as a rogue ninja, and his death at Kakashi's hands. Konoha isn't entirely clear on the current situation in Kirigakure. The information brought by Yi Lan is actually more important than he imagined. Hiruzen Sarutobai quickly scanned the intelligence report. At first, he didn't pay much attention and was still observing Yi Lan's situation, but the more he read, the more surprised he became. Is this information accurate? Hiruzen Sarutobai was still somewhat incredulous at the intelligence submitted by Yi Lan. Kirigakure had carried out a large-scale massacre of clans possessing bloodline limits, and internal strife had broken out. And Yagura, the fourth Mizukage, was the one who personally implemented this policy. This is indeed true. At that time, Kirigakure was in complete chaos. Moreover, Kirigakure spread the message that those with bloodlines exceeding the limit were scourges and monsters. Apart from the Jonin who initially resisted, the rest were all orphans wandering the streets, Yi Lan said solemnly. Ultimately, this was a conflict between the clan and the village, but he hadn't expected the fourth Mizukage to be so extreme. Considering the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the village, Yi Lan feared this kind of thing happening the most. Resist! Hiruzen Sarutobai glanced at Yi Lan with a deep look in his eyes. This intelligence is extremely valuable to the village. Yi Lan, is there anything you need? The village will definitely reward you. I haven't thought about these things. I've been away from home for a long time, Hokage-sama. Right now, I just want to go home and rest for a while and see the other clan members. After all, it's been a long time since I've seen them. Yi Lan thought for a moment and then said his thoughts half-truthfully. No need to be so polite. The village will need young people like you in the future. I remember you possess both water and wind chakra properties, besides fire. That's right. Shisui even asked me to teach you some water-style chakra when we were on a mission, since it was a mission to Kirigakure. As he spoke, Hiruzen Sarutobai took a sealed scroll from the bookshelf beside him, and without avoiding Yi Lan, he directly broke the seal and threw it to Yi Lan. Open it and take a look. Yi Lan was somewhat puzzled by the Naruto's enthusiasm, but still calmly opened the scroll. The scroll displays a series of water release ninjutsu, water release, water shock wave, water release, water dragon bullet, water release, wave strike, and water release, water severing wave. Yi Lan had actually learned most of these ninjutsu during his mission in Kirigakure, yet he showed no dissatisfaction. However, the Hokage's attitude had already given him a bad feeling. Hiruzen, what do you want with us? With a bang, the office door was flung open, and an elderly man with a cross-shaped scar on his chin and one eye bandaged walked in. The old man Yi Lan recognized was Shimura Danzo, whose subordinate Shisui had previously served. The two people who looked to be around the same age as Danzo Shimura, a man and a woman, were probably the Hokage advisors, Hamura Mitakado and Koharu Utatane. Remember to knock next time. Hiruzen Sarutobai glared at Danzo Shimura, then picked up the scroll that Yi Lan had given him earlier and said, "Do you remember that S-rank mission from 5 years ago? The one where we went to gather intelligence on Kirigakure?" Danzo was a little confused when Hiruzen Sarutobi brought up the old story again, while the two advisors listened patiently to Hiruzen Sarutobi's account. "I originally thought that mission had failed. The search and rescue team that was sent at the time also found the wreckage of the ship destroyed by the storm, and I thought that all the people involved in the mission had died." Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at his old friends with a meaningful gaze. However, today, a survivor returned to the village and brought Konoha information about Kirigakure. Danzo and his two advisors also understood why the Hokage had left a young man here. It was probably because of that survivor. Danzo glanced at the young man twice, feeling that he looked somewhat familiar, and a strange sense of unease rose within him. "This survivor is the one next to me. He was only 10 years old when he participated in this mission, breaking the age limit for participating in S-class missions, and he successfully completed the mission." Upon hearing that the survivor was only 10 years old when he participated in the mission, Danzo and the advisors seemed to realize something and stared intently at the handsome face of the black-haired boy. "I've already given him the reward for this mission. I hope you'll keep up the good work, Uchiha Yelan," Hiruzen Sarutobi said to Yelan as he turned back. Looking at Hiruzen Sarutobi's complicated expression, Yelan sensed something was wrong. Especially after Hiruzen Sarutobi finished speaking, the entire Hokage office became eerily silent, as if the 5 people there didn't even exist. "Thank you in advance, Hokage-sama. If there's nothing else, I'll head back to my clan's territory." Yilan finally broke the silence. "Wait!" Just as Yilan said this and was about to leave, the 4 members of the Hokage group called out to him at the same time. Yilan turned around with some confusion, wanting to ask if there was anything else, but the 4 of them fell silent again. Just as Hiruzen Sarutobi was inwardly cursing his old classmate for being useless at such a crucial moment, Danzo Shimura spoke up. "If I remember correctly, you are Shisui's younger brother, right?" Yi Lan nodded. "So many years have passed, and many things have changed, especially your Uchiha clan." Upon hearing that there was a problem within his clan, Yi Lan immediately felt anxious. He hadn't been away for very long, so what could have happened? "Let me tell you," Hiruzen Sarutobi said, seeing that his friend had already started and he could leave the rest to him. "Actually, Shisui disappeared not long after you went on your mission." "Missing?" Where? Yilan sensed something was wrong. "It's in the village, but we searched for a long time but couldn't find it. There was no body, no information. It's like he vanished into thin air," Hiruzen Sarutobi said solemnly. "However, an eyewitness from your clan said that the last person Shisui saw was Itachi Uchiha." "Itachi?" Yilan thought of the child, who was 2 or 3 years older than him. He was taciturn and seemed to be preoccupied. He was known as a genius and was the son of the clan leader. However, he did not get along well with the people in the clan. Only Zhai Shui would visit him occasionally. "So, to find out Shisui's whereabouts, do we need to find Itachi?" Yilan asked patiently, suppressing his discomfort. "I'm afraid it will be difficult." At this moment, Mitakado Hamura said, "Itachi is now an S-rank rogue ninja of Konoha." "What did he do?" Yilan knew that the S-rank rogue ninja must have done something that seriously damaged the village. This seemingly sullen person must have a lot on his mind. "Let me continue with the story of your brother's disappearance." Hiruzen Sarutobi glanced at Hamura Mitakado with displeasure. "After your brother disappeared, the police also came to Itachi Uchiha. The 2 sides fought each other, and it ended with Itachi apologizing. However, he never said that Shisui Uchiha's disappearance was related to him." Hearing this, Yilan roughly understood that Shisui was probably gone, and the murderer was very likely Uchiha Itachi. If so, Itachi might have had those eyes. Then, Yilan's voice became somber. He knew that this alone was not enough to determine that Uchiha Itachi was an S-rank rogue ninja, and there must be more to come. Page 2. Perhaps Itachi Uchiha harbored resentment towards the Uchiha clan, so he joined forces with a mysterious man to slaughter the entire Uchiha clan overnight, Hiruzen Sarutobi said with his last breath. Are you kidding me? Unable to contain his inner rage, he had lost all respect for the Hokage. Cold and chilling black chakra erupted from Uchiha Yelan's body. His bangs were constantly blown by the air currents, and the 3 tomo in his pupils slowly rotated as if they could change into other shapes at any moment. Chapter 3, Special Jonin. Yelan, don't get agitated. I'm also deeply saddened by what happened to the Uchiha clan. But we still have to solve the problem. Hiruzen Sarutobi was somewhat surprised by the aura Yelan displayed. The outburst he just had surpassed that of most Jonin. Although he didn't know the exact strength of Yelan, it was definitely not weak. Perhaps heeding the Hokage's words, Yelan's mood gradually calmed down. He closed his eyes and reflected on the actions and behaviors of the people he had encountered since entering the village. The events surrounding the Uchiha clan were definitely more complex than they seemed. Although he was only 15 years old, Yelan had received 9 years of compulsory education on Earth in his previous life. He couldn't believe everything others said. Slowly opening his eyes, the Magatama in his pupils had disappeared, turning back to normal black. Hiruzen Sarutobi and the others breathed a sigh of relief. I want to visit the Uchiha clan's cemetery. When Yelan arrived in this world, his heart was filled with curiosity and anticipation. He had never heard of such a ninja world, where people could use a mysterious power called chakra to unleash a variety of dazzling ninjutsu. However, fate dealt him a heavy blow. His mother passed away shortly after giving birth to him. This plunged young Yelan into a period of grief, but fortunately, he had a loving older brother, a grandfather who taught him ninjutsu, and a group of friendly and warm-hearted clansmen who accompanied him as he grew up. The existence of these people gave Yelan endless warmth and support, and gradually helped him emerge from the pain of losing his mother. Yelan also gradually came to accept these clansmen and became proud to be an Uchiha. When Jishui was around, Yelan had told him more than once, some things cannot be changed simply by one's will. He knew that the world was complex and ever-changing, and people's thoughts and actions were often influenced by various factors, not entirely determined by the individual. Jishui, however, always naively believed he could do everything, to which Yelan shook his head helplessly, indicating that it was almost impossible. Yet Jishui firmly believed he had the ability to make both sides understand each other, which greatly puzzled Yelan, who thought he was simply a fool. My foolish brother. This is the cemetery of the Uchiha clan. The Hokage personally followed Yelan to a cemetery. It is not far from the former Uchiha clan territory, and you can still see the dilapidated houses of the Uchiha clan. The scattered tombstones had no names engraved on them, and Yelan looked at the Hokage with some confusion. Ahem, almost all the Uchiha clan members were killed in action. They were buried by the Anbu. They didn't know much about the Uchiha clan members, so they didn't write their names down, Mitakado Hamura interjected immediately. Not wanting to hear such clumsy excuses anymore, Yelan was certain that the Uchiha clan's affairs were definitely not that simple, but he had just noticed a detail. They were almost all killed, so there were survivors, Yelan asked. Hiruzen Sarutobi glared at Hamura Mitakado once more, coughed twice, and said, there is indeed a survivor named Sasuke Uchiha. He just graduated this year and has just become a genin. Uchiha Sasuke, Yilan laughed in exasperation. He knew this guy very well. Isn't this guy Itachi's younger brother? The elder brother slaughtered his entire clan, and the younger brother became a victim. Moreover, even with Itachi's power at the time, and with the help of others, how could he possibly have wiped out so many Jonin from the police force overnight? What exactly happened to the Uchiha clan, and what role did Shisui play in it? There's too little information. It seems I need to re-evaluate Konoha. Sasuke was also saved by the Anbo. He was practicing shuriken outside at the time and only escaped being killed because he got home late. Hiruzen Sarutobi adjusted his Hokage hat. HMPH, Hokage-sama, I have a favor to ask of you. Yilan stood up and said, I would like to apply to become a Jonin and accept the mission to hunt down Uchiha Itachi. No way. Before Hiruzen Sarutobi could even speak, Danzo Shimura, who had been standing to the side, immediately refused. Lord Hokage, now only Sasuke and I remain in the entire Uchiha clan. I graduated from the Ninja Academy at the age of 9, became a Chunin at 10, and subsequently carried out an S-rank mission. I believe my strength is not in question. Furthermore, there is an S-rank Uchiha Itachi outside, while Konoha doesn't even have a single Uchiha Jonin. Although those daimyo and nobles haven't said anything, they must have some grievances in their hearts. Yilan knew that saying such things would definitely displease or make the Hokage faction wary. However, since he had no intelligence at the moment, he could only climb the ranks. At least he needed to become a Jonin to gain access to some classified information, to uncover the truth behind the Uchiha clan's annihilation. What nonsense are you spouting? The daimyo would care about your Uchiha clan. Shimura Danzo was somewhat exasperated. Sure enough, there were no good people in the Uchiha clan. Yilan narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at Shimura Danzo. From the beginning, he had not had a good feeling about this elder Danzo, and he was definitely a prime suspect. All right, Hiruzen Sarutobi interrupted Danzo's grumbling, and after a moment of silence said, You haven't done enough missions to become a Jonin. You should lead some genin on missions later. I'll appoint you as a special Jonin later. Hiruzen, upon hearing that Hiruzen Sarutobi was going to grant this kid's request, Danzo Shimura's face twisted with rage. He had originally planned to take Yoru and use him as a weapon. It's decided then. Hiruzen Sarutobi set the tone, and Hamura Mitokado and Koharu Utatane, seeing that things had come to this, did not object. Hiruzen, you'll regret this. Danzo, I am the Hokage. Danzo's hand, gripping his cane, trembled upon hearing the words Hokage, and he gritted his teeth and left the scene. Soon after, Mitokado Hamura and Utatane Koharu also left, so it seems that the matter was temporarily resolved, leaving only Yoru and the Hokage. The joint Chunin exams are coming up soon, and I plan to have you serve as the examiner for the second exam. Hiruzen Sarutobi casually revealed his arrangements for Yilan. The joint Chunin exams. Yilan recalled his own experience during the Chunin exams. This time, there will be examinees from Sunagakure, including the 4th Keizukage, as well as some nobles. Konoha's security must be top-notch, Hiruzen Sarutobi sighed. This joint Chunin exam was a must, not only to flex their muscles, but also to strengthen the alliance with Sunagakure. He didn't want another Shinobi World War to happen before he died. His old bones certainly couldn't take it. I will follow the Hokage's instructions. Yilan did not refuse. He understood that one must give before one can receive. I've already arranged your accommodation. The Anbu will take you there later. There's nothing else here, so I'll be going now. I'm getting old. I can't compare to you young people anymore. Lord Hokage, I would like to ask, who is Sasuke's teacher now? Yilan asked a question that Sarutobi Hiruzen had not expected. Kakashi Hatake. Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't think much before glancing back at Yilan and saying, "Understood, thank you, Hokage-sama. Take care." Upon hearing Yilan's thanks, Hiruzen Sarutobi bowed in thanks. Chapter 4, Chunin Exams. The following day, Yilan, who was resting at his residence, received his appointment letter as a special jonin. "Hello, Yelan-kun. My name is Yamashiro Yoba. This is your appointment letter and some ninja equipment. Please check them." The person who arrived at Yilan's residence was a special jonin wearing sunglasses. In addition to the letter of appointment, he also brought a ninja vest, clothing, and a new Konoha headband. Yilan glanced at the somewhat nervous Shan Cheng Kingai, nodded, and then took all the items. Ignoring the ninja equipment, he opened the appointment letter, confirmed it had the Hokage signature, and put it away. Noticing that Yamashiro Yoba hadn't left yet, he asked, "Is there anything else I need to do now?" "Oh, right. Pack your things now. There's a meeting about the Chunin exams coming up soon." "You don't know the location, so the Hokage asked me to take you there," Yamashiro Yoba said, recovering from his daze. "Then please wait for me a moment." Yilan turned and entered the room, put on a dark, fitted coat, strapped on his usual arm guards, and put on his familiar combat boots. His Konoha headband was casually hung at his waist. He was ready in less than 2 minutes. Upon seeing Uchiha Yoru reappear, Yamashiro Yoba glanced at the ninja vest he had just brought and asked, "Is this all right?" "Aye." Although Konoha doesn't have a clear rule requiring ninja vests except during wartime, and many special jonin and jonin wear their own comfortable clothes, it's truly unheard of for someone like Yilan to not even glance at them and casually hang Konoha's headband on his waist. "Never mind, as long as I get him to the meeting place, my mission is complete," Yamashiro Yoba thought. As they approached their destination, Yamashiro Yoba clearly felt that all eyes were on him, or more precisely, on Uchiha Yoru. That family crest is. How can there still be? Sensing something was amiss, Yamashiro Yoba glanced back at Yilan, who walked on expressionlessly, seemingly oblivious to the surrounding whispers, and then asked, "So, have we arrived?" It was only then that Yamashiro Yoba noticed the Uchiha clan crest on the back of Yilan's coat. Although it was small, only in a small area behind his neck, it clearly indicated his identity. Yamashiro Yoba adjusted her glasses and immediately quickened her pace to walk in front of Yilan again. Almost there, we're almost there. "You all understand why I've summoned you all, right?" said Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was sitting at the very top. "So it's finally time," said a female ninja with red eyes. "So exactly when is it?" 1 week later, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, after taking a deep drag on his pipe. "That's really worrying," a silver-haired ninja remarked. "Nobles from other countries will be attending this joint exam, so I entrust the safety of Konoha to everyone present," Hiruzen continued. Kakashi was lost in thought while Hiruzen was giving a long speech when he suddenly noticed his friend, Might Guy, nudging him from behind. "What is it, Kai?" Kakashi asked in a low voice. "Look, Kakashi, that kid in the corner, isn't the clan crest on his clothes the Uchiha clan's?" Guy, knowing the occasion was inappropriate, also lowered his voice. However, the several familiar, jonin around them, all heard Kai's words and couldn't help but look at Yilan in the corner. Black hair and black eyes, with the Uchiha clan crest printed on his dark coat. There's no mistake. Just then, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, "Then the chief examiner for the second exam will be Anko Mitarashi, and the examiner will be Yoru Uchiha." When the name Uchiha Yelan appeared in Hiruzen Sarutobi's mouth, everyone present looked at Yelan with a variety of uncomfortable gazes, including curiosity, confusion, doubt, hatred, and schadenfreude. "Quiet. Is there any question?" Hiruzen displayed his authority as Hokage, and the whispering ninjas immediately fell silent. I'd like to ask what's going on with this Uchiha ninja, one of the ninjas asked. The Uchiha Jonin was on a long mission and only recently returned to the village, so there's nothing to be surprised about. Hiruzen Sarutobi pointed out the ninja's thoughts, which was also to tell everyone present that Yi Lan had left the village to carry out a mission before the Uchiha clan was massacred. However, this did not satisfy everyone's curiosity. A Jonin, even though the Hokage did not specify whether he was a special Jonin or a regular Jonin, is still a core figure in the village. This guy looks so young, which only increased everyone's doubts. Yilan ignored the stares and comments of others, standing there quietly like a statue. Just then, a hand patted Yilan on the shoulder, and a female ninja in her early 20s said, "Looks like you're my new colleague. I didn't expect you to be a handsome guy from the Uchiha clan." Yilan suppressed the urge to slap away the hand and looked at the woman in front of him, who was wearing an earth-colored coat and had her hair tied in a pineapple ponytail, and said, "Mitarashi Anko, a Jonin. Please take care of me for the next period of time." "No problem. No problem. I was worried you wouldn't be easy to talk to. I'll treat you to 3 colored dumplings later." Mitarashi Anko patted Yilan's shoulder several times, not expecting this Uchiha to be so easy to talk to. "All right, so for this exam, do you have any recommended genin?" Hiruzen Sarutobi quickly changed the subject and asked the Jonin leading the teams. Kakashi and the others were taken aback, but they quickly recovered and announced the names of their subordinate genin. "All right, I understand." Just as Hiruzen was about to adjourn the meeting, someone suddenly interrupted him. "Lord Hokage, although it may seem like I'm meddling, those students are all people I taught before. While I admit they do have some talent, it's too early for them. They should be doing more missions to hone their skills." The speaker was Iruka. "I was 6 years younger than Naruto is now when I became a Chunin." Kakashi knew who Iruka was most worried about. "Naruto is different from you." "Hey, Captain." Ignoring Iruka and Kakashi's argument, Yilan took the initiative to speak to Anko. Hongdu didn't seem to mind that no honorifics were used. "What is it? Is there anything I can tell you about the second exam?" Don't worry so much about work. There's still a week left. We can set up the exam venue later. The main thing is to supervise whether any students are cheating during the exam," Hongdu said. "If nothing's going on today, I have some personal matters to take care of. Is that all right?" "It's possible." Before Hongdu could finish speaking, Yelan started walking towards Kakashi. Iruka's words don't make no mistake. Hiruzen was also annoyed by the two arguing. "Then let's prepare a preparatory exam for them." "Preparatory exam." Before Iruka could react, Yilan walked right up to him. "Then, Hokage-sama, I'll take care of Sasuke Uchiha's preparatory exam." Chapter 5, First Encounter with Sasuke. "I didn't expect the Hokage to agree to this," Kakashi said, looking at the boy behind him. Page 3. "The Hokage naturally has his reasons." Yilan looked at Kakashi walking in front of him. He had heard a lot about Kakashi's deeds when he was in the village, especially the fact that he was not a member of the Uchiha clan but had the Sharingan. This had a great impact within the clan. Shisui had mentioned his name before. Kakashi was the only one who could use the Sharingan to such an extent as an outsider. "I know what you're worried about. The Hokage told me about what happened 5 years ago. I wouldn't go so far as to cause trouble for a child." Yilan saw through Kakashi's worries and pointed it out directly. "You're not that old yourself." Putting aside his inner complaints, Kakashi felt somewhat relieved after hearing Yilan's words. "Will you come with me to see him directly, or will you make your own arrangements?" "Just watch for a moment, don't worry, I definitely won't hurt him." Yilan had some ideas in mind and a smile appeared on her face. Don't go too far. They are my subordinates after all. Seeing Ilan's smile, Kakashi's heart, which had just settled down, jumped up again. He is your subordinate and a Konoha ninja, but don't forget that his surname is Uchiha. What do you want to do? Kakashi's alertness immediately heightened. Don't worry, Kakashi. Seeing Kakashi's expression, Ilan remained silent for a moment before saying, my attitude towards him depends on my attitude towards Itachi. Just as the sun was shining brightly, the 3 genin of Team 7 stood on a bridge in Konoha village, lost in thought. Ugh. Why did that guy call everyone out and make them wait for him? Sakura, with her pink hair, couldn't hold back any longer and started complaining. That's right, that's right. Naruto chimed in, while Sasuke, standing to the side, watched the two of them making fun of Kakashi and wondered why these two guys were so energetic so early in the morning. Yo! Good morning, everyone. Just as Naruto and Sakura were complaining, Kakashi, who was late, finally arrived. Today I'm lost on the path of life. You're lying. Naruto and Sakura no longer believed this nonsense. Well, actually, I was just helping you guys out. Without the slightest embarrassment at being exposed, Kakashi walked straight up to the 3 of them. Actually, I recommended the 3 of you to participate in the Chunin exams, he said, pulling out 3 application forms. Look, these are the application forms. The Chunin exams. Sakura hadn't quite grasped the situation yet. This kind of exam isn't mandatory. Whether you participate or not is up to you, Kakashi continued. That's great. Kakashi-sensei loves you the most. Unlike Sakura, Naruto immediately hugged Kakashi excitedly. All right, if you agree, sign the application form and come to the school in 5 days, Kakashi said, releasing Naruto. It seems Sasuke will encounter many strong opponents during the Chunin exams. Just as Sasuke was still pondering this, Kakashi spoke up. Sasuke, someone is looking for you. Okay. Slap before Sasuke could react. A hand slapped his shoulder from behind. Just as Sasuke was about to turn around, a murderous aura that made him tremble came from behind him. Uchiha Sasuke, what is Uchiha Itachi to you? Standing behind Sasuke was Yilan. At this moment, he released his chakra without much reservation, and a dark and cold feeling instantly filled the entire bridge. While still reeling from the murderous aura, Sasuke heard that name he wanted to tear to pieces. He instantly lost his mind, his pupils began to shrink, and his eye color began to turn red. Kakashi-sensei, what? What? What's going on? Naruto's legs began to tremble, while Sakura collapsed to the ground in despair. This was even more terrifying than when they encountered Zabuza. This speed is impossible to clearly capture without the Sharingan, and the amount of chakra is too exaggerated, more than 10 times that of a typical Jonin. What has Yilan gone through all these years? At only 15 years old, he has already surpassed his peers by a huge margin. Speak up, what does Uchiha Itachi mean to you? Yilan looked at Sasuke in front of him and was honestly a little disappointed. At the age of 12, he was not even a Chunin. At this age, Shisui, Itachi, and he himself were all far superior to their peers and had all developed the Sharingan with 3 Tomo. Although Sasuke was released and raised in the wild by the Hokage, his strength was still too weak. I forbid you too mention that name. Sasuke suppressed the discomfort brought on by the killing intent, not thinking about why Kakashi hadn't made a move. He took out a kunai from his ninja tool bag, his Sharingan eyes spinning continuously, and thrust the kunai behind him. Yilan easily grabbed Sasuke's arm as he swung the kunai, then withdrew the killing intent within her. I think I understand what you're thinking, but if you can lose your mind just because of a name, Sasuke, you'll never beat Itachi like this, Yilan said, putting down Sasuke's arm. Sasuke wanted to say something, but he was stunned when he saw the three Tomo sharing in Yi-Lan's pupils. "Who are you? You attacked us right away. I'm going to teach you a lesson." Naruto, seeing that he could move freely again, rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush towards Yi-Lan. "Naruto, don't move." Kakashi stopped Naruto with one hand. Under the puzzled gazes of Naruto and Sakura, he slowly said, "That person is Sasuke's cousin." "Yi-Lan." Sasuke was somewhat incredulous. Besides him, there were other survivors in the Uchiha clan, and he was somewhat familiar with this person. Yi-Lan was 3 years older than Sasuke, but he had already graduated when Sasuke enrolled. Aside from missions, he often practiced with Shisui at the Uchiha clan's training grounds, and Itachi frequently visited Shisui. When Itachi brought Sasuke to the training grounds, Yi-Lan mocked Sasuke for needing his older brother to carry him, a sentiment Sasuke held dear. Yi-Lan and Shisui had visited Fugaku's house together to say goodbye before a mission. After the massacre of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke remembered Yi-Lan was still on a mission and clung to a sliver of hope, only to be informed by the Hokage that the mission had failed and everyone had perished. "It seems you still remember me." Yi-Lan did not show any joy, and then said to Kakashi, "Kakashi, I'm taking Sasuke to the clan's territory." After saying that, he gestured for Sasuke to follow. Kakashi didn't seem to care, but Naruto started complaining. "What? Even if he's Sasuke's brother, he shouldn't be so rude." "Kakashi-sensei, I've never heard of Sasuke having an older brother." "What's going on?" Sakura asked, puzzled. "He's a cousin, not a biological brother. Yi-Lan has been away on missions for many years and only recently returned. He just happened to come with me to see Sasuke," Kakashi said casually. "But I feel Sasuke was also surprised." Sakura still wanted to know more. She felt that Sasuke was surprised not only by Yi-Lan's arrival, but also by other reasons, such as who this Uchiha Itachi that Yi-Lan mentioned was, and why Sasuke was so angry. "All right, that's enough for today. As for the Chunin exams, you can think about it yourselves. As your teacher, I can't give you much advice. I will definitely participate in the Chunin exams. I will definitely become a Chunin." Right, Sakura. Naruto's determination to become a Chunin was ignited from this moment on. Sakura looked at the excited Naruto and shook her head helplessly. "By the way, Kakashi-sensei, what about Sasuke? He should agree to participate in the Chunin exams, right?" Naruto was still a little worried about Sasuke's departure, and he hoped that the entire Team 7 could participate in the Chunin exams. "Don't worry about Sasuke. Yi-Lan will definitely let him participate," Kakashi explained. "By the way, Yi-Lan is also your examiner for the second round. Consider this a heads up. That expressionless guy is the examiner." "How old is he?" Naruto said unconvinced, as Yi-Lan didn't look much older than him. "Uchiha Yi-Lan should be 15 years old now, but he has already become a Jonin. Logically speaking, you Genin should call him teacher. And you just felt his strength. I can tell you that Yi-Lan is stronger than Zabuza, whom you encountered before." Kakashi gave this instruction before leaving. 15 years old. Jonin. Stronger than Zabuza. Naruto's encounter with Zabuza during a previous mission broadened his horizons, but he never imagined there would actually be someone his age with far greater strength. Thinking back to how he couldn't even move his feet in front of Zabuza just now, he understood the gap between himself and a Jonin even more. It seems he needs to work even harder. Sakura seemed thoughtful after Kakashi's words. She was 15 years old and had been away on missions for a long time. What exactly happened to the Uchiha clan? Chapter 6, Conversation. Sasuke followed Yi-Lan to the former Uchiha clan's territory. He still couldn't believe that Yi Lan was still alive. He was thinking about what to ask, but didn't know where to begin. Sasuke. After arriving at the clan's territory, Yi Lan turned around, and the Sharingan in her pupils slowly rotated. Tell me, what did you see on the day Itachi killed his clansmen? That day, upon hearing Itachi's name, Sasuke clenched his fists tightly, as if recalling something painful, and dared not look Yi Lan in the eye. Uchiha Itachi graduated from the Ninja Academy at age 7, became a Chunin at age 10, joined the Anbu at age 11, and turned his weapon against his clan at age 13. Sasuke, do you think you can accomplish revenge now? Yi Lan slowly revealed his understanding of Itachi. I can, Sasuke said, looking directly at Yi Lan this time. With your half-baked Sharingan. One has a 1-tomo Sharingan, and the other a 2-tomo Sharingan, and you can't even make them symmetrical. Don't laugh your head off. You bastard, Sasuke said through gritted teeth, his hands beginning to move, the prelude to forming hand seals. Do you think I won't hurt you, so you keep provoking me? Whoosh. Even with his Sharingan wide open, Sasuke couldn't see Yi Lan's movements clearly. Yi Lan grabbed Sasuke's hand as he was about to form hand seals. The first rule to becoming a good ninja is that you can be angry, but you must always remain calm. This kind of mentality will only give your enemies an opening. After saying that, Yi Lan let go of Sasuke's hand and continued forward. Sasuke watched Yi Lan's retreating figure. His anger subsided slightly, and he followed Yi Lan's footsteps. When Sasuke followed Yi Lan to the Uchiha clan's cemetery, Sasuke's eyes widened. He hadn't expected that all the members of the Uchiha clan were buried in this place. Apart from your parents' grave, you probably haven't been here before. Yi Lan squatted down in front of a tombstone and said in a low voice, most of those buried here are ordinary members of the Uchiha clan. Do you know how many there are? Sasuke stared blankly at Yi Lan, unsure how to answer the question. 1257 people. I counted them one by one last night. Among them are Aunt Jing, Uncle Xiaoxiao, and Grandpa Yewei. They're all gone. The village's ANBU buried them, and they couldn't even have their names engraved on their tombstones. Sasuke, what I really want to confirm right now is, did you personally witness Itachi, Uchiha, attacking members of his clan? When Sasuke heard the number, he was still shocked. Sasuke's feelings for Itachi had always been complicated. He might even have hoped that Itachi had some unspeakable secret. But when the number 1257 appeared in front of him, he suddenly felt that his hatred for Itachi was not even half as strong as Yi Lan's. I got home late that day. When I returned to the clan's territory, I saw corpses of clansmen everywhere and signs of a fight. All I could think about was getting home. Sasuke knew he couldn't escape the past. He held his forehead with one hand as he recounted what he had seen. Yi Lan didn't interrupt Sasuke's ramblings and listened patiently. When I got home, all I saw were my parents lying in pools of blood and Itachi. Itachi was holding that ninja sword, which was covered in blood. Sasuke seemed to recall something terrible and began to squat down. You didn't see Itachi do it himself, Yi Lan frowned. No, although I didn't see it with my own eyes, he attacked me while I was questioning Itachi. He used his Sharingan to cast a genjutsu on me, and in that genjutsu, I saw Itachi kill my parents. Sasuke continued. When I woke up from the genjutsu, all I wanted to do was run away. I didn't have the courage to fight him at all. Itachi didn't kill you. A red light flashed in Yi Lan's pupils. No, he seemed to say something like, go find him again when you have eyes like his. After saying that, Sasuke seemed to collapse to the ground with a thud. Things seemed to have become more complicated. What was Itachi's purpose in keeping Sasuke alive? What caused Itachi to commit such a heinous act? And even if Itachi joined forces with others, How could the two of them have slaughtered an entire clan so quickly? Even with the main Kaiwu sharing an, Itachi couldn't have done it so fast. And how could Konoha have been completely unaware of such a commotion? What role did the Hokage faction play on this absurd and unbelievable night? According to Sasuke's words, Yilan could only analyze so much information and put away his sharing. In order to get information out of Sasuke, he could only use genjutsu. It seems that Sasuke only knows some superficial information about what happened that night. Sasuke slowly opened his eyes, only to find an unfamiliar ceiling and an unfamiliar bed. He sat up abruptly, looked around, and was filled with confusion. Awake! Suddenly, a familiar voice came from a corner of the room. Sasuke turned his head and saw Yilan leaning quietly against the bedroom door, looking at him calmly. Sasuke froze, unsure what to say. Seeing that he was all right, Yilan continued, "Don't just stand there. There's food on the table. Eat and then go to the training ground. I'll wait for you there." With that, he turned and left the room, leaving Sasuke standing there in a daze. Sasuke took a while to come to his senses. He got up and left the room, going into the living room. He immediately saw a steaming bowl of food on the table, emitting an enticing aroma. However, he didn't immediately pick up his chopsticks. Instead, he stood silently before the table, his eyes gradually dimming. Upon seeing Sasuke arrive at the training ground, Yilan immediately asked, "Sasuke, what do you think is the most important thing for a ninja?" "A powerful technique," Sasuke replied after hearing Yilan's question. Yilan shook his head and said, "Based on this alone, you can't become a Chunin. The most important thing for a ninja is intelligence. No matter how powerful a technique is, there is always a way to break it. Once you have all the information about a ninja, killing him will be easier than you think." Upon hearing this, Sasuke suddenly looked up at Yilan. "That's right, I'm talking about Itachi." Yilan mentioned the name again unintentionally, wanting to see Sasuke's reaction. This time, Sasuke didn't yell, but his slightly trembling hands betrayed his inner turmoil. Seeing this, Yilan sighed and continued, "Not only that, every ninja must learn to conceal their information. Even if you know a powerful ninjutsu, if others know it, they will be on guard. This means that what you consider a trump card may be easily dealt with by others. In this respect, your teacher Kakashi did a pretty good job, but you haven't learned anything from him," Yilan said, raising his left arm, biting his right thumb, and drawing blood on his left arm. "Seal release." As the smoke cleared, a samurai katana appeared in Yilan's right hand. He held the katana level and pointed it at Sasuke, saying, "No matter how much you say, it's useless. Let's see what information you can glean from me by fighting me." Sasuke looked at Yilan with some uncertainty. "Don't worry, I'll suppress my strength to the level of an ordinary Chunin." Perhaps seeing Sasuke's concerns, Yilan reassured him. Page 4. Upon hearing Yilan's words, Sasuke also became serious, took out his kunai, and prepared to launch an attack. "By the way, let me make this clear beforehand. If you can't satisfy me, I won't agree to let you participate in the Chunin exams, so as not to embarrass the Uchiha clan." Chapter 7, Uchiha. Without saying anything more, Yilan didn't wait for the genin to make a move like other jonin instructors, but instead rushed directly towards Sasuke. Sasuke's Sharingan clearly captured Yilan's movements as he charged with his sword. "I can see it." Sasuke swung his kunai to block the attack, successfully deflecting the blow. Before he could even feel relieved, Yilan kicked him directly. Snapped. Fortunately, the attack wasn't too fast, and Sasuke reacted in time, managing to block it with one hand. The kunai's range against a ninja sword was simply too short. Sasuke tried to close the distance, and Yilan understood, retreating to create more space after the initial attack missed. Sasuke wanted to give chase, but was met with Yi Lan's slash. At first, Sasuke was able to parry a couple of attacks, but after a while he had to give up those attacks that did not pose a fatal threat to him. Fortunately, Yi Lan used the back of the blade, which only left a bruise and pain, otherwise Sasuke would have been covered in wounds. Seeing that it had no effect, Sasuke deliberately created some distance, his fingers constantly forming hand seals. Yi Lan did not step forward, but instead calmly watched Sasuke. Fire release, great fireball technique. Seeing the Uchiha's signature ninjutsu coming towards him, Yi Lan shook his head. He wasn't a sitting duck. He started moving as soon as Sasuke finished the last hand seal. He didn't use any ninjutsu, but instead used chakra to power up his legs and quickly ran around the great fireball from the side. When he dodged the fireball, he didn't see Sasuke anywhere. Yi Lan then began to find it somewhat interesting. After quickly looking around and finding no trace, Yi Lan raised his head. Sasuke, midair, threw several shuriken at Yi Lan. Yi Lan ignored them, deflecting the shuriken with his ninja sword. Sasuke, unable to adjust his position in midair, was caught off guard, so Yi Lan jumped up and swung his ninja sword at Sasuke. Sasuke, however, showed no panic. He smiled slightly, and as if pulling something with his right hand, moved Sasuke through the air. Seeing Sasuke's actions, Yi Lan was indeed a little surprised, though not much. It wasn't over yet. Sasuke swung his left hand again, and the shuriken that Yi Lan had previously deflected flew up from the ground. Yi Lan hadn't used his Sharingan until now, and only then did he realize that Sasuke had thin steel wires tied to both his hands, one end connected to a large tree not far away, and the other end connected to a shuriken. Yi Lan, who was also unable to move in midair, was directly bound by the steel wire at the end of the shuriken. Fire release, fire dragon technique. Sasuke landed first, and immediately unleashed a ninjutsu on the wire wrapped with shuriken. A fire dragon surged toward Yi Lan along the wire. The temperature instantly rose, illuminating Yi Lan's face with flames, as if he would be devoured by the fire dragon at any moment. Uchiha style, sword leaps in flames. A burst of flame erupted from Yi Lan's ninja sword, easily severing the steel wires wrapped around her body. Sword leap flame is a sword technique of the Uchiha clan. It not only allows the user to imbue a ninja sword with fire-style chakra, but also possesses wind-style chakra characteristics, making it easy to cut steel wires. This is because Sasuke rarely learned swordsmanship from the Uchiha clan. When his clan was still alive, he wasn't old enough to learn swordsmanship yet. Moreover, the Uchiha Fugaku faction was known for its ninjutsu and rarely studied swordsmanship. After Yi Lan landed, he gave Sasuke no time to think. Gripping his ninja sword, he charged towards Sasuke like a ghost. Seeing this, Sasuke quickly used his substitution jutsu to try and dodge Yi Lan's attack. But Yi Lan had anticipated this and continued charging towards the direction Sasuke had used as a substitute. Fire release, Phoenix Fire. Sasuke squeezed out the last of his chakra, hoping to stop Yi Lan's advance. Just as Sasuke finished forming the hand seals and was about to unleash his power, Yi Lan's ninja sword was already pressed against his throat. Your taijutsu is terrible. The strength and speed I just used were only at the level of an average chunin, and you only used one type of ninjutsu. In this battle, besides learning that I am a chunin who can use fire-release ninja swords, you know nothing else. Blindly using ninjutsu has left you with no chakra. Even if you manage to defeat one enemy on the battlefield, you will be overwhelmed by the rest. Yi Lan criticized mercilessly. Sasuke lowered his hands, looked down at the ground, and remained silent. He understood that what Yi Lan said was true, and although he was very unhappy, He could not find a reason to refute it. Take a break, then we'll continue. Looking at Sasuke, who remained silent, Yilan knew he had taken the advice to heart. How much he could improve depended on his talent. The rest of the afternoon was spent practicing sparring with Yilan. It wasn't just direct confrontation. It also escalated into scenarios where Sasuke would ambush or Yilan would ambush Sasuke, or even ambushes. Each time, Sasuke was defeated. Even during a practice session of Yilan ambushing Sasuke, Yilan used a simple trap to distract Sasuke and then subdued him with a single move. Furthermore, Sasuke noticed that Yilan never wasted his stamina in his attacks, rarely using ninjutsu, and always employing only the necessary strength, yet each move was perfectly timed, leaving Sasuke utterly exhausted. Sasuke later became familiar with Yilan's fighting style. Sharp swordsmanship, a ghostly figure, not only able to imbue his ninja sword with fire release techniques, but also wind release techniques. Moreover, his blue chakra sword aura cleaved through Sasuke, hiding behind a tree with a single strike. When Sasuke loudly asked if this was Chunin-level strength, the reply was that Yilan had mastered this ninjutsu before becoming a Chunin. If the Sharingan is also considered, Yilan was actually much stronger when he became a Chunin than when he sparred with Sasuke. The sun was about to set soon. Yilan looked at Sasuke, who was squatting on the ground panting, and said, "I have a mission tomorrow during the day. Find a place to practice your physical fitness yourself. Your taijutsu is too poor." When most people were genin, they didn't have much chakra and couldn't use many ninjutsu. Excellent taijutsu is the foundation of a ninja. I'll find you again tomorrow evening. Yilan stared at Sasuke expressionlessly, and when he didn't react for a while, he growled, "Did you hear me?" Sasuke, who was still resting, was startled by the shout, then slowly nodded. "Remember, Itachi has fallen into the Uchiha clan, and you and I will take it back." Yilan left with these words. Surprisingly, Sasuke wasn't angry at Itachi's name when he heard this. Although his name was Uchiha Sasuke, he didn't seem to understand the Uchiha clan. What did the name Uchiha mean to Itachi, to Yilan, and to himself? "Sasuke, what are you doing here?" Sasuke, who had just picked up his medicine from the Konoha pharmacy, ran into a familiar figure, Sakura Haruno, his teammate who had clearly expressed her feelings for him. "How did you get covered in injuries?" Sakura looked at Sasuke's disheveled state with heartache, then, as if remembering something, asked, "Was it your cousin?" Sasuke saw that Sakura was a little irritable and was about to scold her, but then he remembered what Yilan had told him. To become an excellent ninja, one must always remain calm. So he swallowed his words and simply said, "This is none of your business." "How could that be? We're teammates, and I've already decided to participate in the Chunin exams. Let's go together then." Sakura hadn't noticed Sasuke's change yet and grabbed Sasuke's injured arm with both hands. "That's outrageous. I'm going to tell Kakashi-sensei," Sakura said angrily, looking at Sasuke's bruised arm, and was about to leave to find Kakashi. "No need. Sakura, it's all training." Although Sasuke was surprised that Sakura made up her mind so quickly, he still stopped her from complaining. "Are you sure?" "Well, Yilan, his training is quite strict." Sasuke really didn't know how to explain. He couldn't very well say that he was too weak and was easily defeated by Yilan with his Chunin strength. "Is that so?" Sakura was a little puzzled. Sasuke seemed different today. Could it be that the test wasn't over yet? Was this Sasuke also an imposter? Just as Sakura was feeling nervous, Sasuke made a farewell gesture and said, "See you at school in 5 days. That's all for today." Oh. Sakura waved her hand in confusion, thinking that she didn't seem to be under any illusion. Chapter 8. The Demons of the Uchiha Clan. All right, mission accomplished. After setting up the last surveillance camera, Hongdu stretched comfortably and nodded at Yelan beside her with satisfaction, saying, as expected of the Uchiha clan, their speed in completing missions is just as efficient. Now the second examination room is set up, Yelan said calmly. Next, we just need to wait for the examinees to arrive. That's right, we still have several days of rest before that. Yilan-jun, would you like to go for a drink with me? Hongdu said casually. Captain, I'm not an adult yet. Although they had only spent a short time together, Yilan had a general idea of the female ninja's personality. To put it nicely, she was straightforward and uninhibited. To put it bluntly, she was brainless. Haha, don't be so boring, Tilda, Hongdu teased with a smile. Come on, I'll treat you to juice, okay? Sorry, Captain, I have some personal matters to attend to. Yilan thought that he still had to train Sasyuk, and it wasn't time to rest yet. That's such a pity, Anko continued, thinking of something. When the Hokage announced the Chunin exams, Kakashi said that some of his students were also going to sign up, and one of them seemed to be from your clan, right? Yilan nodded. Let me think, what was his name again, Uchiha? Sasyuk, after thinking for a while, Anko remembered. After all, the only survivor of the Uchiha clan had caused quite a stir in the village. You're not going to go back and give him special treatment, are you? Hongdu had already figured out what Yelan meant by private matters. It's just simple training. Actually, that kid is still a long way from becoming a Chunin. I didn't expect you to care so much about your cousin. Hongdu came again, patting Yilan's shoulder suddenly, as if this person had no sense of boundaries. That's how it is. If there's nothing else, Captain, I'll head back now. Let's have the get-together after the Chunin exams. Yilan looked at Anko helplessly. To integrate into Konoha and gather more information, he had to start from all sides. Although Anko was only a special Jonin, being assigned as the chief examiner meant she was highly trusted by the third Hokage. Moreover, this was his first mission back in the village, and he couldn't afford to give anyone cause for trouble. Perhaps he could be more flexible with his actions later on, but for now, he could only focus on developing his skills for a while. Then it's settled. I'll treat you after the Chunin exams. I've never met a teammate who suits me so well before. Anko patted her chest, and the two round objects hidden in her black mesh dress trembled and bounced twice. Yilan hurriedly turned around, said goodbye, and left. Watching Yilan's hurried departure, Hongdu smiled and murmured, the Uchiha aren't as difficult to get along with as I imagined. I feel they're much easier to get along with than Yamashiro, Yoba, and the others. A few days later, at a training ground in Konoha. Fire release, great fireball. Sasyuk, who had been lying in wait, jumped down from the tree where he was hiding and immediately launched a great fireball attack at Yilan. Is it that trick again? Although the distance was very close, it was still manageable to dodge. Just as Yilan was passing by the fireball searching for Sasyuk's whereabouts, she noticed some extra movement behind the great fireball. In the blink of an eye, it was Sasyuk hiding behind the great fireball. He covered his mouth and nose with his arm and emerged from the flames, his Sharingan eyes fixed on Yilan. Seeing Sasyuk's Sharingan slowly rotating, Yilan sensed something was wrong. Illusion, not the kind of magic used here. This is the only technique Yilan has taught Sasyuk in the past few days. It's a C-rank technique, and Sasyuk, with his Sharingan, learned it quickly. This technique makes the target believe that what they see is actually something else, causing them to lose their judgment. It also doesn't consume much chakra, making it a very useful ninjutsu. Normally, this technique wouldn't affect Yilan in the slightest, but without using his Sharingan and with his strength limited to Chunin level, it could still affect him for a second or two. Just as he finished the hand seals to release the genjutsu, Sasyuk's kunai was already hovering around his neck. This was Sasyuk's first success since training began these past few days. Before he could even celebrate, Yilan's voice came from the nearby woods. "Not bad. It seems you've made some progress these past few days." Another nightfall emerged from the woods, and Sasyuk couldn't help but purse his lips when he saw him. "Is it just a shadow clone? Otherwise, do you really think you can defeat me after just a few days of training? Besides, using shadow clones is the easiest way to control your strength at the Chunin level." With that, Yi Lan released the clone in front of Sasyuk. Sasyuk knew, of course, that a few days of training wouldn't be enough, so he said, "Let's try again. If I can succeed the first time, I can succeed the second time." Seeing Sasyuk's enthusiastic expression, Yilan scratched his cheek with his index finger and said, "Have you forgotten something? This afternoon is the day to submit the application form for the Chunin exams." Upon hearing this, Sasyuk realized that 5 days had already passed. He hadn't expected time to fly by so quickly. "You can go back and get ready first, then go register with your teammates this afternoon," Yilan instructed. That's it. I didn't even feel like I'd trained that much. Sasyuk felt like he'd just gotten into the zone when he was told it was over. "Don't overthink it. You've actually improved a lot these past few days. The Tomo in your eyes have finally become the same," Yilan said, looking into Sasyuk's pupils. "And you also know how to use your advantages to defeat your opponents. You can judge the timing of your attacks and defenses. You're no longer as reluctant to use your brain in battle as before. Your taijutsu has also improved a bit. Besides, you are Kakashi's student. Although we are of the same clan, I cannot overstep my bounds." Seeing Sasyuk's somewhat confused look, Yilan continued. After listening to Yilan's words, Sasyuk realized that he had indeed improved a lot compared to 5 days ago. He hadn't learned any powerful ninjutsu, and his chakra reserves hadn't increased much either. However, he was confident that he could easily defeat the version of himself he was 5 days ago. "I understand. Thank you for taking care of me these past few days." Sasyuk thanked the man before him in the end, something Kakashi and his former classmates would find astonishing. Perhaps it was Yilan's teachings that made Sasyuk feel the warmth of his clan again. Perhaps it was their shared goal. Or perhaps it was because Sasyuk knew that the only person in the world who wouldn't hurt him and could understand him was this man before him, Uchiha Yilan. Yilan looked at Sasyuk, who was thanking him with surprise. Sasyuk blushed when Yilan stared at him, said goodbye, and quickly left. "Sasyuk, I'll tell you one last thing." Upon hearing Yilan's words, Sasyuk stopped in his tracks. Just like ninjas gathering intelligence, some information is true and some is false. Every word and every piece of news we hear, you must think about it in your mind to determine whether it is true or false. No matter how close you are to the person who tells you this, you must understand that you can only be sure when you verify it yourself. As a ninja, you should not only have the ability to think independently as a person, but also think before you act. Yilan's words were short and easy to understand, but not easy to put into practice. Sasyuk nodded thoughtfully and left. Page 5. Not long after Sasyuk left, Yilan looked at the dark forest and sighed helplessly. "Come out, everyone's already gone. Do you want me to invite you?" "Oh dear. I just got lost. How did I end up here?" A man with a head of white hair suddenly appeared and walked over with a grin. Yilan was too lazy to expose him. The person who came was none other than Sasyuk's teacher, Kakashi Hatake. "I feel like you care about Sasyuk more than I do. You're not even a Uchiha, are you? You must have been here since day one, right?" Yilan retorted. "This is also my first time leading a team, so I always have to take care of my subordinates." "Keep pretending." Before Yilan left the village, It was Shisui who told him about Kakashi's reputation for being cold-blooded. Yilan sneered. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving now. Wait a minute. Kakashi's smile faded, and he looked at Yilan with a serious expression. Actually, what I'm more concerned about right now is what you said to Sasuke at the end. What, Kakashi-senpai, is there something you want to teach me? Yilan looked at Kakashi with amusement. Yilan, I know you just returned to the village, and the Uchiha clan incident has been a big blow to you, but I think you can't let hatred blind you. Revenge will never end well. Senior, preaching is fine with those low-ranking ninjas, but what right do you have to lecture me? Yilan's voice gradually turned cold. Yilan had been suppressing his emotions all along. He understood that there were too many mysteries surrounding the night of the massacre, and it was not something that could be solved by acting impulsively. Do you think your words are fair to the 1257 people lying in the Uchiha graveyard? Can you imagine a mother happily opening the door after preparing a meal, only to be met with a butcher's knife? Can you imagine an elderly person lying in bed, pleading desperately? A child hiding under the bed being dragged out and killed in front of his parents? Yilan's sharing and eyes were blood red, and his calm words recounted chilling events. Kakashi remained silent about these things. He might have thought about them, but he never faced them. How can I live if I don't avenge such a great grudge? Yilan ignored Kakashi. I am a demon from the Uchiha clan who crawled out of hell. I will offer the heads of all those who participated that day on the Uchiha clan's tombstone. Chapter 9. Chunin exams begin. Kakashi returned home, opened the door and said as usual, I'm home. Taking off his shoes, Kakashi walked into the living room. After the sun set, the shadows on the walls covered most of the living room. Just as Kakashi was about to step forward and turn on the light, he noticed a shadow in the living room. Suddenly, the outside, which had been bright just moments before, turned pitch black. Before Kakashi could even react to why the sky had suddenly darkened, a deafening clap of thunder echoed through the sky. The flash of lightning allowed him to see what the shadow in the living room was. It was a middle-aged man who looked about 70% like him, lying on his side on the living room floor. A ninja sword was stuck in his abdomen. Kakashi was very familiar with this ninja sword, and this scene was a childhood memory that he dared not recall. Father! Kakashi suddenly woke up, sat up in bed, panting heavily and lacking his usual composure as the copy ninja. I had a nightmare. It seems Yilan's words that day still affected me. Kakashi looked out the window and saw that it was already getting light. The Chunin exams are today. I hope nothing unexpected happens. Hey, Lord Yelan, it seems your cousin has already started the first exam. Aren't you going to take a look? Hongdu said leisurely, looking at Yelan sitting in front of the monitor. Captain, you're the chief examiner of the second examination room. Is it really okay to let your subordinates abandon their posts like this? Yilan felt helpless towards the captain in front of him, who was spurred out in a certain way, but didn't have much brain capacity. Well, I was just worried you'd be bored. The exams should be over soon, right? By the way, aren't you worried your cousin won't pass? Hongdu said with a smile. He seems to be the top student in his year. If he doesn't even pass the first round, he shouldn't be called an Uchiha anymore. He already has the Sharingan, so even if he doesn't know how, he can just copy and pass. Yilan, who had participated in the Chunin exams, wasn't worried at all. How could I forget that you Uchiha have the Sharingan? You can just copy it casually. Anko suddenly realized that the first test was the easiest for the Uchiha. By the way, would you like to come with me to welcome the students who passed the first exam? I haven't met this year's freshmen yet. They must be quite interesting, Hongdu said enthusiastically. I think I'll pass. Yilan felt that something bad was going to happen because of Hong Du's thought process. Let's go together. Let's see your lovely juniors. This is an essential lesson in life. Maybe you'll become a Jonin instructor someday, so let's get to know each other first. As she spoke, Hongdu hugged Yelan's neck, looking like she absolutely had to come with her. Yilan blushed instantly when she felt something soft touch her neck and quickly said, "Let go, I promise you." The first round of the Chunin selection exams is over. Congratulations on passing the first round, Ibiki Morino said to the genin who chose to stay. The examiner for the first exam gave the candidates a choice. Those unwilling could leave and forfeit the exam, participating in the next Chunin exam. Those who stayed to answer the last question would continue the exam, but if they failed the 10th question correctly, they would be eliminated and unable to participate in future Chunin exams. This choice caused panic among many genin, but Ibiki, who remained, immediately declared that they had passed the exam. Great! Great! I passed the test. Yay! Naruto danced with excitement. He had left without answering a single question, but he still managed to pass the first test. Click! Just as Ibixi finished announcing the end of the exam, a round object smashed the classroom window. The object flew into the classroom, and there were 2 kunai and a large cloth hanging in front of the teacher's desk, directly covering Ibihi. Honestly, it's only you. Ibiki looked awkwardly at the piece of cloth in front of him. Thud. A puff of smoke cleared, and a group of Konoha ninjas stood in front of the cloth. The female ninja in the middle was Anko, and the cloth read, "Second Exam Examiner, Mitarashi Anko, reporting for duty. This is not the time for you to be happy." Seeing Hongdu's expression, Yilan couldn't help but cover his face. He wondered what had gotten into him to agree to her. Luckily, he had his other colleagues with him. He hoped Sasuke hadn't seen him. Let's get moving. The next exam is about to begin. Somewhat stunned, Sasuke stared at the ninja covering his face in the corner, feeling a sense of familiarity. Come to think of it, Yilan was also an examiner in the second examination hall. Could that person be him? Seeing that the genin didn't react, Anko raised her arms and shouted, "Follow me." The classroom fell silent instantly, and a group of genins stared at Anko in disbelief. Yilan really wanted to crawl into a hole, but finally Ibiki came out from behind the curtain and said, "Look at the atmosphere, you idiot." Even the usually outspoken Hongdu blushed. She had been thinking about this opening line for many days. Ibiki, you're going to hold back. There are still so many examinees, but who is Hongdu? Her ability to adjust is always very quick. There are many outstanding candidates this year. HMPH, I'll eliminate half of you next, Red Bean sneered, feeling embarrassed by the humiliation these low-ranking ninjas had caused her. It was only then that the group of genin realized that the female ninja in front of them was actually the chief examiner for the upcoming exam. Following the instructions of the genin finally arrived at the location of the second examination site, the Forest of Death. At this moment, Naruto, who was always curious, asked, "Why is it called the Forest of Death?" "You'll find out soon why I say that," Hongdu said with a smile. Hearing Anko's perfunctory answer, Naruto started to act silly, imitating Anko's speech, only to be startled when Anko threw a kunai that cut his face. Just then, Yilan, who was hiding in the shadows, suddenly appeared behind Hongdu. Hongdu also reacted and took out another kunai to look behind her. Just as Yilan was about to grab the examinee by the neck, the examinee stopped, stuck out half a meter of tongue, and held the kunai, saying, "Give the kunai back to her." Hongdu smiled and accepted it, saying, "Thank you so much." "You're welcome." Although he said that, the genin looked at Yilan meaningfully. A very uncomfortable feeling. Yilan slowly lowered his guard. After all, this was Konoha, and even Cage from other countries would need to be careful here. He glanced at Sasuke not far away, nodded to him, and then disappeared from everyone's sight. That guy is so fast, even with the sharing and activated, I couldn't catch him at all. Looks like my training still isn't enough. Sasuke, who is that? Sakura had also seen Yilan before, and she didn't expect that he really was the examiner of the second examination room, just as Kakashi had said. She didn't seem to have seen him when the first examination room ended. Hey, Sakura, did you see that? That examiner was so handsome. I couldn't even see his movements clearly. He doesn't seem to be much older than us, so he must be a chunin already. I didn't expect to see such a handsome guy today, Ino said in a daze after Yilan left. Ah, right. But she's a jonin, Sakura said to her as she saw her nemesis acting up again. Huh, jonin. How did you know? Ino put her finger to her lips and thought for a moment. I think he nodded in your direction just now. Do you know him? As she spoke, Ino grabbed her arch-nemesis Sakura's shoulders and shook her repeatedly. Tell me quickly, what kind of person is he? I'm not quite sure. Sasuke is closer to him, Sakura finally said, unable to bear being shaken any longer. Hearing that Sasuke sounded familiar, Ino started to feel conflicted again. She felt a little embarrassed to ask Sasuke, a boy, for information, since Sasuke was also her idol. Then Hongdu began to explain the rules of the second exam. Simply put, each team gets a scroll, and there are two types of scrolls, heaven and earth. To pass the second exam, you need to have both heaven and earth scrolls within 120 hours and reach the tower in the middle of the exam hall. That would complete the exam. After the rules were explained, each team entered the examination room through a different entrance, and the second exam officially began. Chapter 10. The People Spying on the Uchiha Clan. When the person in front of him, whose gender was unclear, released a strong killing intent, Sasuke immediately realized that this person was not someone he could handle. Sakura collapsed to the ground, her expression filled with terror and panic, completely out of her mind. Naruto's fate was unknown. Sasuke gritted his teeth, gripping his kunai tightly, his tutomo sharing and swirling wildly in his pupils. Oh, you can still move. Sasuke-kun, you really surprise me. The androgynous voice rang out again. So, what do you plan to do? Sasuke grabbed Sakura and ran away as fast as he could. Should we just run away? The person stuck out their tongue and licked their face. Huff, listen to me, Sakura. That person is someone we absolutely cannot deal with. We have no chance of winning. He's at least a jonin, Sasuke said to Sakura, panting. You run away right now. Head back to the gate we came in through, find the examiners, and tell them what happened here. No, you'd better find Yilan and have him handle it. Sakura stared blankly at Sasuke, the little girl still unable to react. Did you hear that, Sakura? Where are you going, Sasuke-kun? A voice that sent chills down Sasuke's spine rang in his ears again. It was the same person from before. Red Bean, something's happened. Just as Hongdu was leisurely drinking her red bean soup, a chunin ran over. While Yilan was still wondering, Hongdu returned shortly afterward, looking at Yilan with a serious expression and saying, There's a dangerous individual in the examination hall, and he's very strong. I've already notified the Hokage and dispatched the Anbu. I'm going to pursue him now, and you'll come with me. Hongdu understood that most of the examiners in the second examination hall were chunin, and facing Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, was no different from being a genin. The only one she could rely on was Yelan. I'll go find that entrance myself. I'm faster than you, and the Sharingan is still somewhat useful for finding people. I'll signal you as soon as I find it. Yelan agreed immediately after packing his ninja tool bag. Okay, right there. What? Orochimaru, seeing Naruto going berserk, immediately used the 5 elements seal on Naruto's stomach. Naruto's rampaging chakra vanished instantly, and he fell into a deep sleep. Damn it! Sasuke watched as Naruto, who had just arrived, was easily defeated, and felt a strong hatred for his own weakness. Fire release, Phoenix Flower technique. Sitting idly by and waiting to die is not Sasuke's choice. Since escape is impossible, he might as well fight to the death. HMPH, then I'll play along with you, Orochimaru thought to himself as he saw Sasuke resisting. Orochimaru easily dodged the phoenix flame, closed in on Sasuke, and punched Sasuke in the head. Page 6. So fast, but barely visible. Sasuke kept blocking Orochimaru's attacks, but Orochimaru's attacks became faster and faster, like a cat toying with a mouse, and Sasuke gradually couldn't keep up with his pace. Sasuke, when you encounter someone much stronger than yourself and find that your eyes can't keep up with their movements, don't rely too much on your Sharingan. Think more about where the enemy will attack you from. Although the human body has many weaknesses, when an enemy attacks with a speed that exceeds your dynamic vision, there will inevitably be a slight movement of air. Just defend in that direction. These were the words Yelan said to Sasuke during his training. Sasuke had also received similar training at the time, but not extensively. This was too difficult for a genin like him. His main goal at the time was to defeat Yelan, who was at the Chunin level. Recalling Yelan's words, Sasuke gave up using his Sharingan to observe, slowly closed his eyes, carefully sensed the flow of air, and gradually blocked Orochimaru's attack. Interesting. Being from the Uchiha clan, you don't rely solely on the Sharingan. Sasuke, you truly impress me. Orochimaru noticed Sasuke's actions, but didn't disrupt his offensive rhythm. He wanted to see what other surprises Sasuke could bring. I sensed it, the direction of the enemy's attack. Legs, arms, chest, back of the head, and then directly in front. Just then, Sasuke opened his eyes and stared directly at Orochimaru, activating the genjutsu he had recently learned, the not here technique. What? This brat can use genjutsu? Orochimaru didn't expect Kakashi to teach a genin such a high-level genjutsu. Looking at the Sharingan in front of him reminded him of a shameful memory. Orochimaru paused noticeably, and in that less than half a second, Sasuke seized the opportunity without using ninjutsu, gripping his kunai and thrusting it directly at Orochimaru's chest. Just as the kunai touched Orochimaru's skin and penetrated less than 2 millimeters, Orochimaru suddenly reacted and kicked Sasuke away. Puff! This kick was much heavier than Orochimaru's previous attacks, causing Sasuke to cough up blood and lie on the ground for a long time without getting up. HMPH, the Uchiha clan only knows how to play these low-class tricks. Orochimaru walked up to Sasuke and said he was really angry just now. At that moment, the sound of a fuse being detonated rang out, and an explosive tag was attached to Orochimaru's back. That brat. He was the one who stabbed me with a kunai just now. Orochimaru realized there was something wrong with Sasuke's stabbing motion. The reputation of the Uchiha clan is not for you to judge. Sasuke forced himself to stand up. Shuriken technique. Sasuke threw out shuriken wrapped with steel wire, which wrapped Orochimaru 1, 2, 3 times around the branches of a large tree. Fire release, dragon fire technique. A fiery dragon slid down the steel wire and struck Orochimaru directly, causing him to let out a blood-curdling scream. Sasuke could see Orochimaru's skin melting and charring after being hit by the fire dragon, and his suspenseful heart finally began to relax. Finally, we've won, he thought. Sasuke, great. We won, Sakura cheered immediately upon seeing this. Sasuke was about to smile at Sakura when he noticed the charred corpse from the dragon fire technique begin to speak. The voice was no longer the androgynous one, but a hoarse and aged male voice. As expected of a descendant of the Uchiha clan, you look just like your brother, Sasuke. There was another person inside the charred corpse. Peeling back the charred skin revealed his original appearance. Who are you? How do you know my name and Itachi? Sasuke had always had this question in his mind, and finally had the chance to ask it. My name is Orochimaru, and I also know that you want to kill Itachi. But with your current strength, you simply cannot do it. Sasuke, are you willing to follow me? I will give you the power to kill Itachi. Orochimaru's voice seemed to possess a certain magic, tempting people to the deepest desires in their hearts. What a joke! How could I follow someone like you? No matter what, Sasuke was not fooled by words. I knew you'd say that, so today I'll give you a gift first, so you can experience what it feels like to have power. As he spoke, Orochimaru formed hand seals, and his neck instantly extended, opening his blood-red maw to bite Sasuke. Uchiha style, my style, wind scar. 3 massive, air-splitting slashes tore through a large patch of trees, heading straight for Orochimaru's neck. Orochimaru, abandoning Sasuke, spat out a sword, barely managing to block the attacks, and his neck retracted back into his body. Orochimaru stared at the damaged trees with a grim expression, and then he saw a figure appear. I didn't expect the examiners to react so quickly. It seems that some decent ninjas have emerged since I left Konoha, Orochimaru said with a calm smile. In his opinion, apart from his disciple Anko, the examiners were just some special jonin who weren't particularly strong. What right do you, a filthy bug hiding in a corner, have to say such things? It seems that some people have forgotten my name after I've been away from the village for so long. Orochimaru had never been so disrespected before, and he had already figured out how to teach this ninja a lesson. When Yilan arrived beside Sasuke, Orochimaru's eyes widened in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the ninja who had come possessed the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, and even had 3 Tomo. Sasuke, take your teammates and leave this place first. This person in front of you is not a test taker. This is not something you can handle. Yilan then took out a signal flare and launched it into the air. Sasuke was finally relieved to see Yilan, realizing that the matter was finally resolved. However, he still told Yilan, this guy is called Orochimaru. He knew about Itachi and me, and for some reason he attacked us directly. Orochimaru, Yilan thought of this person. Actually, he didn't know much about him. When Orochimaru defected from the village, Yilan was only 3 or 4 years old. He only knew from the clan's records that Orochimaru was one of the legendary Sannin. He defected not long after the Nine Tails Night, and was also an S-rank rogue ninja of Konoha. He was very strong. Who exactly are you? Apart from Itachi and Sasuke, there are no other survivors in the Uchiha clan. Orochimaru couldn't believe that there were other Uchiha members still alive, and they didn't seem to be very old. Sasuke was quite familiar with him, and looked only about 15 or 16 years old. Yilan suddenly felt that something big was going to happen in this Chunin exams. Looking at Orochimaru, he simply said, I am just a demon from the Uchiha clan who crawled up from hell. Chapter 11, Biotian Yuzhong. Orochimaru was not satisfied with Yilan's answer. Seeing Sasuke pull Sakura away, he immediately attacked Sasuke. Hidden shadows and many snake hands. Orochimaru extended his right hand, and several pythons emerged from his sleeve, attacking Sasuke at incredible speed. Uchiha style, Sun Halo dance. Yilan stood in front of Sasuke, Flames ignited on his ninja sword, and several shockwaves carrying flames directly intercepted Orochimaru's attack. The python was cut into several pieces, which turned to ashes and fell to the ground. "Don't waste time here, let's go." Yilan turned back to Sasuke and urged him. Sasuke knew he couldn't help at all, so he and Sakura carried the unconscious Naruto and fled as fast as they could. Snake Cage. Orochimaru's attack was just a feint. After using the hidden shadow snake hand, he continued to form hand seals and slap the ground with one hand. Something was moving on the ground. As soon as Yilan turned around, several large snakes burst out of the ground from under his feet and tightly wrapped around his body. Thud! The body that had just bound Yilan turned into a piece of wood. It was a substitution technique. Orochimaru was not surprised. A 3-tomo Uchiha ninja wouldn't be dealt with so quickly. Uchiha style, Gale Sword. Yilan appeared behind Orochimaru, his ninja sword not only engulfed in flames, but also whistling with danger, and a powerful slash was aimed at Orochimaru's neck. Clang! Orochimaru reacted quickly, using his Kusanagi sword to block Yelan's ninja sword. However, the flames attached to Yelan's ninja sword were not so easily extinguished, and the weakened flames grazed Orochimaru's face. Orochimaru felt the intense heat of the flames, and his expression turned grim. He knew about the Uchiha clan's swordsmanship. It was a very difficult ninjutsu to deal with. Yelan's expression didn't change despite his missed attack. Instead of continuing his assault, he increased the distance between himself and Orochimaru. Against an opponent like Orochimaru, no amount of caution was excessive. Sasuke should already be some distance away. He only needed to hold off Orochimaru until Anko and the Anbu arrived. Seeing Yilan deliberately create distance, Orochimaru wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he pondered for a moment and said, "Very beautiful Uchiha swordsmanship." The last user was a famous Uchiha master. Let me think, his name was Uchiha Shisui. Orochimaru observed the boy in front of him, hoping to see if his expression changed in order to obtain some useful information. To his disappointment, Yilan's expression remained unchanged. It seems we'll have to find out more about him from Kabuto. Unable to extract any information, Orochimaru decided to take the initiative this time, rolling up his sleeve and using his bitten finger to draw a mark on his arm where the jutsu had already been drawn. Summoning Jutsu, Orochi. As the smoke cleared, several large snakes appeared at his feet, and under Orochimaru's command, they all pounced on Yilan in front of him. Yilan quickly formed hand seals, ending with a noon seal. Fire release, great fire extinguisher. Flames erupted from Yilan's mouth, forming a firestorm in front of him. The giant snakes that were advancing were burned to death without much roaring. The remaining surviving snakes fled in all directions, their fear of death making them refuse to obey orders. The Death Forest, which was originally a place with lush trees, was transformed into a sea of fire, and the temperature of the air instantly became scorching. It wasn't over yet. Yilan increased the release of chakra, and the flames in his mouth rapidly changed from reddish yellow to white, a sign of a sharp increase in temperature. The dry trees, upon encountering the flames, no longer simply burned, but instead emitted violent explosions. Yilan's purpose in doing this was to warn the examinees not to go to this place and to attract the attention of the Anbu. Water escape, water formation wall. Orochimaru's expression darkened upon seeing such a terrifying fire jutsu. He hadn't expected that this young Uchiha would be so powerful. He hastily used a water jutsu to temporarily defend himself before softening his bones and burrowing into the mud. Thud! The sound of the great fire extinguishing could be heard throughout most of the examination hall. Sasuke, who had left, looked back in surprise. He hadn't expected that the battle between Yi Lan and Orochimaru would be even more intense than the battle he had fought against Zabuza. At that moment, Sasuke noticed a group of people running frantically not far from them, about to meet him and Sakura. Sasuke couldn't help but feel anxious. His situation was dire. Naruto was unconscious, and Sakura. Well, the situation was bad anyway, so he had no choice but to shout first. Who is it and where is it? He hoped that others, having heard the explosion, would not dare to engage them rashly. The group paused for a moment and then walked towards him. Just as Sasuke and Sakura were getting nervous, a familiar voice rang out. Sasuke! Only then did he realize that it was his former classmates, Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. Upon seeing that they were familiar classmates, Sasuke and Sakura lowered their guard. How did you all get into such a mess? Shikamaru said when he saw the state of Sasuke and his group. He couldn't help but smile bitterly as he recalled the terrifying explosion and the huge wave of flames behind them. You don't know anything about what happened next, do you? A dangerous Jonin infiltrated the exam hall, and we almost lost our lives just now, Sasuke explained, but he didn't stop walking. Let's get as far away from that place as possible. Shikamaru knew this wasn't the place to talk, so he followed closely behind Sasuke. If even an energetic guy like Naruto was knocked unconscious, I can imagine the danger you guys were in. By the way, how did you manage to escape? The examiners arrived just in time and are now fighting that dangerous guy, Sakura said, still shaken. Is the examiner that red bean? Ino interjected at this moment. No, it's that male examiner. You've met Ino before. His name is Uchiha Yoran. Surprisingly, Sakura didn't argue with Ino. Uchiha, Shikamaru, and the others' expressions changed. Sakura didn't know much about the Uchiha clan, but they had all heard their elders talk about it. That person is Sasuke's cousin. Kakashi-sensei said he just returned to the village recently, Sakura explained, seeing that Sasuke's expression hadn't changed. Shikamaru and the others all turned to look at Sasuke. They had never heard of such a thing before. Feeling a little uncomfortable under everyone's gaze, Sasuke finally said, "What's going on over there is not something we genin can get involved in. Let's find a place to rest for now." Flames swept across the land, turning a large area of the death forest into a clearing. As the surface flames gradually subsided, Orochimaru emerged from the earth, wisps of white smoke rising from his body. It seemed that even underground wasn't easy for him. He hadn't been this disheveled in a long time. He once again harbored almost morbid thoughts about the Uchiha clan. The formation of 10,000 snakes. At this moment, Orochimaru finally unleashed his killing move. He became serious. He opened his mouth, letting out a hiss, and countless enormous pythons surged forth. These pythons twisted their bodies in the air, like 10,000 sharp swords stabbing towards Yi Lan. They were incredibly fast, arriving before Yi Lan in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Yi Lan remained expressionless, his fingers rapidly forming hand seals. Water release, great waterfall technique. Before there were flames filling the sky, this time there were towering waves. Yi Lan's ninjutsu collided with Orochimaru's 10,000 snakes formation, creating huge splashes of water. The temperature in the air dropped once again, and the group of pythons with swords in their mouths were swept away without a trace. The entire giant wave continued to rush towards Orochimaru without stopping. Spiritual communication techniques, the triple Rashomon. 3 enormous Rashomon gates rose from the ground. The great waterfall was blocked after breaking through only the first Rashomon gate. Orochimaru stood on the Rashomon gate and looked sternly at Yi Lan. Shulker. Suddenly, a shadow snake hand attack came at Orochimaru. It was Anko who had just arrived. Orochimaru seemed to have anticipated it and dodged the attack. Anko didn't give up and thrust her kunai at Orochimaru. Orochimaru immediately formed a Chinese letter, unclear hand seal with both hands and roared. Drink. Page 7. Anko, who was still moving forward, suddenly clutched her neck and collapsed to the ground. It was the heavenly curse mark that Orochimaru had placed on her earlier. People with the curse mark are completely unable to resist Orochimaru. Anko, you're a Jonin, for goodness sake. It's a bit ridiculous of you to use the ninjutsu I taught you to deal with me. Uchiha style, my style, rising dragon flame. Ilan's ninja sword transformed into a fire dragon, roaring as it flew towards Orochimaru, creating waves of heat in its wake. Orochimaru, seeing this, quickly dodged. However, Ilan's attack didn't stop. The fire dragon circled in the air, changing direction to continue attacking Orochimaru. Faced with Ilan's fierce onslaught, Orochimaru constantly dodged, inwardly marveling at the sheer power of the young man before him. Finally, Orochimaru had a sudden inspiration. He picked up the corpse of a giant snake and threw it directly at the fire dragon controlled by Ilan. The two collided and caused a huge explosion, with smoke filling the sky and obscuring the vision of both sides. Taking the opportunity, Yilan went to Hong Du's side, keeping a watchful eye while asking, "Captain, how are you?" "It's okay, I won't die." "Damn it!" Hongdu angrily pounded the ground, not expecting that her arrival would not only not help, but also hinder her. As the smoke cleared, Orochimaru's trail had vanished without a trace. Just as Yilan was feeling puzzled, he suddenly sensed a fluctuation of chakra beneath his feet. He immediately realized Anko's danger, and without hesitation, turned and grabbed her, trying to escape quickly. However, at that moment, the ground beneath Anko's feet suddenly split open, and a large white snake emerged. Terrifyingly, the snake's head bore a striking resemblance to Orochimaru's. The snake swiftly coiled around Yilan and Anko. "Red Bean, you truly are my disciple. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have succeeded so easily." The giant snake actually spoke in human language, clearly Orochimaru himself. Then Orochimaru, now a white snake, looked at Yilan and said, "Compared to Itachi, you're still far behind. The gift I originally planned for Sasuke will be yours this time." With that, Orochimaru opened his massive jaws and lunged at Yilan. At this crucial moment, Yilan's three tomo sharing and rapidly spun, the three tomo transforming into four sword-like shapes, arranged in a cross around his pupils. Those eyes. Orochimaru, seeing the change in Yilan's eyes, felt a surge of intense crisis. His body enveloped Yilan and Anko, and flames instantly erupted, the intense heat forcing Orochimaru to loosen his restraints. This was the first time Yilan had used his Mangekyou Sharingan since returning to the village. His left eye, Koto Matsukami. Chapter 12, Lightning Speed. Wasn't he afraid of burning himself with the flames? Orochimaru's face was dry from the heat of the flames. Surrounded by flames, Yilan remained expressionless, and Hongdu, who was already unconscious, showed no signs of discomfort. The Mangekyou Sharingan, specifically Koto Matsukami, grants the user complete control over all chakra within their body, allowing them to transform it into any shape. This enables them to unleash ninjutsu without hand seals, resulting in greater power. Furthermore, it allows them to cover their entire body with fire or other elemental chakra without harming themselves. During a mission in the land of water, a storm at sea capsized their ship. Witnessing the deaths of his comrades, Yilan's survival instinct awakened his Mangekyou Sharingan. The flames on his body slowly died down, and Yilan stood unharmed in front of Orochimaru. He put down the unconscious Anko and said calmly, "Now let me get a little serious." As soon as he finished speaking, Yilan's figure disappeared in front of Orochimaru. So fast, Body flicker technique. Flying thunder god technique. Even with Orochimaru's keen eyesight, he couldn't catch Yi Lan's figure, which made him suspect that Yi Lan had used the flying thunder god technique. Thud. A sonic boom was generated in the air. This was an effect produced by extreme speed. Yi Lan was able to reach such a speed by using Koto Matsukami to completely attach the wind attribute chakra in his body to his body surface, making his body completely free of wind resistance in the air, and making all the wind carry him to run. In a sense, his speed at this moment was faster than the flying thunder god technique. After all, the flying thunder god technique requires throwing kunai, while his speed has already exceeded that of the kunai. Orochimaru, a seasoned ninja, could still sense the approximate location of his opponent's chakra even without visual observation. With the Kusanagi sword clenched in his mouth, he turned in a peculiar posture and swiftly attacked Yelan behind him. However, although the Kusanagi sword successfully sliced Yelan in two, Orochimaru felt no joy. He discovered that the blade hadn't made any real contact with flesh, and not a single drop of blood flowed from the severed corpse. Like burning paper, it vanished without a trace in the blink of an eye. To the left, above, every time Orochimaru swung his sword, he struck a false Yi Lan. Each time he failed to hit the real Yi Lan, he gradually realized something was wrong. Had he fallen into a genjutsu? Just then, in an instant, Yi Lan's figure appeared from all directions, as if countless Yi Lans were simultaneously attacking Orochimaru. Orochimaru revealed a sly smile. He was convinced that only the Yi Lan above was the true one. Therefore, ignoring the other Yi Lan figures, he concentrated his power and thrust his Kusanagi sword towards the Yi Lan above. Uchiha style, my style, lightning fast. Yi Lan silently chanted, and the figure stabbed by Orochimaru vanished just as before. Orochimaru looked at Yi Lan's other figures in disbelief. To his astonishment, all of Yi Lan's other ninja swords swung towards Orochimaru. The swords, imbued with wind attribute chakra, easily sliced through his skin. The white snake-like Orochimaru was instantly cleaved into countless pieces. Finally, Orochimaru stared at Yi Lan in utter disbelief, completely unable to comprehend the jutsu's principle. "You are utterly worthless before these eyes," Yi Lan said slowly. Yi Lan's pupils slowly returned to their original black. He sheathed his ninja sword, turned around and walked towards Anko, who was still lying on the ground. Just as he was about to wake Anko, he suddenly looked at Orochimaru's corpse behind him. The fragments of the corpse quickly gathered together and transformed back into Orochimaru's appearance. "Can't you kill him even like this?" Yi Lan hadn't expected Orochimaru to be so troublesome. He could only say that he truly deserved to be called one of the legendary Sannin. Just as Yi Lan was about to launch an attack, Orochimaru, with a grim expression, activated his summoning jutsu, and several more large snakes appeared between the two of them. Orochimaru wasn't unwilling to summon Manda. He could actually manage it now, but if he summoned Manda again, he might not even have enough chakra to escape. After using the summoning technique, Orochimaru turned and ran. He knew he couldn't afford to waste any more time. He had other things to do. After easily dispatching the giant snakes, Yi Lan stopped watching Orochimaru's escape route. Although he could continue the pursuit, he was only a special jonin in Konoha, so he left this task to others. Orochimaru shouldn't cause any more trouble in the forest of death. Looking at his ninja sword, now riddled with nicks, he sighed. He hadn't expected Orochimaru's Kusanagi sword to be so sharp. It seemed he'd have to find a way to get a new one. "Captain, wake up!" Looking at the unconscious Hongdu, Yi Lan bent down and gently patted her face. After a while, Anko slowly opened her eyes, her consciousness gradually returning, though she still seemed somewhat dazed. However, when she was fully awake, she suddenly jumped up as if startled. Where's Orochimaru? Where is he? Anko asked seriously, her eyes filled with vigilance and tension. She looked around, seemingly searching for something. Seeing Hongdu's serious expression, Yilan casually said, Orochimaru has already escaped. I can't stop him. Yilan lied. He thought that if he could defeat Orochimaru, the village would take him seriously. He just hoped to reduce the attention others would pay to him, since he was still not clear about what role the village played on the night of the massacre. He ran away. Hongdu looked at Yelan in surprise. She couldn't believe that Orochimaru had lost. As Orochimaru's former disciple, Hongdu knew very well about Orochimaru's past achievements. Yelan wasn't even born when Orochimaru became famous. How could he have lost to this 15 or 16-year-old boy? Towards the end, neither of us could subdue the other. I guess they felt that if they stayed here for too long, our people would arrive, so they withdrew, Yilan quickly explained, fearing this situation. That's still amazing. Besides the Hokage, I can't think of anyone in the village who could stop Orochimaru one-on-one. Even though Yilan explained it this way, Anko still couldn't hide her surprise. What about the other two Sannin? Yilan asked casually, unaware of the Sannin situation. Since Orochimaru was one of the former Sannin of Konoha, the other two Sannin should be able to deal with him. Sigh, those two lords haven't returned to the village in a long time, Anko sighed. Never mind, I'll go report to the Hokage. Orochimaru must have a purpose in coming to the village. You can come with me. The other two legendary Sannin have been gone for a long time, a fact unknown to Yilan. So how much strength does Konoha currently possess? Orochimaru, the Chunin exams. If something goes wrong in Sunagakure at this time, it could be a devastating blow to Konoha. Yilan didn't trust any so-called allies. According to the records in Konoha's books, Sunagakure and Konoha had been mortal enemies since the Second Shinobi World War. The ninjas on both sides had the blood of the other side on their hands. The hatred between the two sides could not be bound by a piece of paper. What about the exam venue? Should we let those genin continue taking the exam? Yilan asked, putting aside his thoughts. Orochi is gone, but I'll have the remaining Chunin keep an eye on the Anbu. There shouldn't be any major problems. After all, this joint exam involves ninjas from other countries, so even if we stop the exam, we need to get the Hokage's permission. But you've gone too far. Your fire jutsu has almost turned the death forest into a death plain. Without Orochimaru's pressure, Anko returned to her original personality. You know, I can't hold back against a ninja of this caliber, Yilan said insincerely. It seems it will take quite a while to repair. It's nothing serious. Someone will fix it, and it'll be back to normal in less than a month, Hongdu said with a smile, trying to reassure her. Can this forest be restored in less than a month? Yilan suppressed her curiosity and did not ask any further questions. Chapter 13, Undercurrents. Does the curse mark still hurt, Anko? Hiruzen Sarutobi asked, looking at the mark on Anko's neck. Thanks to you, I feel much better now. I didn't expect you to run into Orochimaru. I heard he's already dead, said Izumo Kamui, who was with the Hokage. Luckily, you're all right. I really don't know what Orochimaru's purpose is in showing up at the exam hall. Where there's Izumo Shinjetsu, Kotsu will never be absent. We owe this all to Yilan. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to stop Orochimaru at all, Hongdu said, looking at Yilan beside her. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at Yilan with a puzzled expression. Orochimaru was his disciple, and he knew his strength better than anyone. He didn't expect that 15-year-old Yilan could fight him. Orochimaru just didn't dare to stay long, otherwise I might have been the one to lose in the end, Yilan explained from the side. Upon hearing Yilan's admission, Both Kamizuki Izumo and Kotsu looked at Yilan. They knew the reputation of the three legendary Sannin, but they didn't expect Yilan to be able to fight them. It seemed that he hadn't suffered any losses. I wonder what Orochimaru's purpose is in returning to Konoha, Anko murmured. It's Sasuke, Yilan said directly. Although I don't know the specific reason, when I arrived, Sasuke was fighting Orochimaru. It seemed like Orochimaru was about to do something to Sasuke. Now, seeing the cursed mark on the captain, I think that's why he found Sasuke. Upon hearing Yilan's words, the others' expressions turned serious. Yilan then continued. When I first arrived, Orochimaru was sticking his head out to bite Sasuke's neck, which now appears to be the location of the captain's cursed seal. So that's how it is. Hiruzen Sarutobi gradually accepted Yilan's words. He knew very well that his disciple had a passion for researching certain bloodline limits, and this time he was probably targeting Sasuke. He then asked, Yilan, did Orochimaru successfully plant the cursed seal back then? No, I interrupted his spell. Hearing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi breathed a sigh of relief, then said to Yilan, after the second exam, go and keep watch around Sasuke. I'm afraid Orochimaru will make another move. I'll talk to Kakashi about this. Yes. Should the exam continue? Anko asked directly, hearing that the Hokage's tone indicated that the exam was not over. Yes, let's continue. Keep Yilan by Sasuke's side, and with Kakashi, even if the two of them can't beat Orochimaru, they won't lose either. Let's see if he makes any further moves, Hiruzen said, taking a deep drag on his cigarette. After giving Anko a few instructions, Hiruzen dismissed everyone, took his pipe, and went to the window. Looking at the night outside, he fell into deep thought. Although Orochimaru was his disciple, Hiruzen had never truly understood him. 5 days later, the second exam finally ended. Because there were too many people left after the second round, some had to be eliminated before the third round of exams began. All those who passed the second round of exams had to engage in a one-on-one duel in the tower in the center of the Death Forest, and only the winners could enter the third round of exams. Before the third preparatory exam, all the examiners and the supervising Jonin came to the examination hall. Yilan stood beside Anko, while the Hokage gave a speech in the center, explaining the significance of the Chunin exams to the genin who were taking the exams. After the Hokage finished his speech, the examiner for this exam, who was also the referee for the genin duel, appeared and announced the start of the exam while coughing. Looking at him like this, I'm really afraid he might collapse at any moment, Yilan complained. Well, he's had health problems since he was a child, but his strength is actually quite good, Kakashi said from the side, holding a novel in his hand, which was clearly marked as 18+. I didn't know you had this kind of hobby, Kakashi. A way to pass the time when you're bored. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all arrived at Kakashi's place. Hey, I haven't congratulated you on passing the second exam yet. Heh, Naruto chuckled to himself. Thank you, Senior Yelan. Sakura immediately bowed to thank Yelan upon seeing him. If it weren't for Yelan, she didn't know how she would have faced Orochimaru. Sasuke also nodded in acknowledgement. It's nothing. I'm just an examiner for the second round. It's what I should do. Yelan waved his hand casually. Huh. Sakura, why did you thank him? Naruto was still confused. Idiot, the Orochimaru we encountered back then was a dangerous ninja, not a genin at all. In the end, it was Yoru-senpai who saved us. Sakura punched Naruto on the head and said. Watching them playfully bicker, Yelan figured Orochimaru probably hadn't left them with any lasting trauma. What happened to Orochimaru